Hello and welcome to Your Communities, Your Stories. My name is Charles, and in this episode I read an extract from a Miss B. Wright's blog post about the discovery of old letters, documents and newspapers from an Ewe Fia, or king, Fia Togbwe Adamah II. These letters form the Family Ties Adamah Papers exhibition at the Black Cultural Archive in Brixton, London. These papers are significant because they're thought to be the first of their kind in Britain, and maybe the world, to document Ghana's Ewe community in such a manner. They provide a snapshot of life in the royal household from the late 1800s to the 1940s, and were donated by granddaughter Auntie Promise, as she's known, and who currently lives in East London. Not only can visitors learn more about Fia's life and Ewe culture through the exhibition, but they can see, touch and read the original documents at the BCA's archive library too. In April 2018, 1 month after the exhibition's formal launch, I became the first member of the public to lay my hands, though gloved, on these delicate artifacts. They say there's something about a new book smell. Well, there's something equally magical about touching and reading letters penned almost 90 years ago. Before I could access these letters, I had to make a formal request to the BCA archives outlining which of the archived materials I wanted to see. I chose to focus on letters from one of Fia's sons, called Moses, and old newspapers that the Fia had kept. To say that Moses was a character would have to be an understatement. Most of the 2 hours I spent in the archives were focused on reading his colourful and often verbose letters to his father. Most were dominated by the topic of money. Either Moses was thanking his dad for sending him some, or he was asking for more. Moses' use of the English language was what struck me the most, as it provided some insight into his character, his level of education and his desires. In one letter dated 17th September 1930 he wrote, "Mr. Dear and Honourable Father, wilful and faithless hopes that my letters had reached you with no attention and response. I am writing now to know of your present exertions in the governance of both national and family responsibilities." Wow. Never has "Hello Dad, how you doing" sounded so poetic. In another letter, he bemoaned the fact that he was terror-stricken because he was broke, was forced to buy 2 khakis because he didn't have any trousers, and was concerned about wasting money on food. It turns out Moses was fed up of the institution he was attending. I didn't quite find out which, but wanted Daddy to help him transfer to Cape Coast, Oxford or Cambridge universities. In another appeal, Moses recounted how he sat for the Cadbury's competitive scholarship exam, but found out too late afterwards, which I thought was quite weird, that he was too old to apply. In all his trials to further his education, he focused on attending the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, USA, which offered black people tertiary level education. This institute, which started out as a school but is now a new university, was established on 4th of July 1881 by Booker T. Washington and Lewis Adams. It turns out Moses only had to fill in a form to gain free admission and could get a BSc after 4 years training. The plan afterwards was that he would come back to Accra and teach science in Achimota. the prestigious school, I presume. I never found out if he made it to the US. If he did, it would be interesting to know how he felt navigating life in a racially divided America, and if he saw any correlation to his life in then Gold Coast with its emerging racial divisions. As for him becoming a teacher of science, although laudable, I think his strength definitely lay in writing, acting, performance, poetry, or something else equally arty. Thank you for listening.